Greetings, film fans. John Campea here, AMC Theaters, and I'm really pleased right now to be joined by Eric Eisenberg from cinemabled.com. Eric, how you doing?
How's it going, John?
And we're also really pleased to be joined by Ben Kendrick from ScreenRant.com. Ben, how you doing, sir?
How you guys doing?
Doing good. Well, listen, we all already know about the major Star Wars news. Disney has, of course, purchased Lucasfilm. They've announced they're going to do Star Wars Episode 7 in 2015. Huge purchase price tag for $4.05 billion. We know all that. But some new information has come out here over the last couple of days. Two pieces in particular that I want to get your guys' thoughts on. Piece of information number one. It has been confirmed by reps that they are looking at, indeed, not just Episode 7. They're going to do 7, 8, and 9. And apparently they're not going to be based on pre-existing material. They are going to be what they are calling original stories. Now, on top of this, Mark Hamill, of course, the actor who's played Luke Skywalker since my childhood, has reportedly been saying that he, George Lucas, and Carrie Fisher actually had lunch last summer. And George Lucas told them that they have plans to make Episodes 7, 8, and 9. So, Ben, let's start with you. When you hear this type of information, number one, about an original set of new films, and the fact that this may have been in the works since as early as last summer, what are the first things that pop into your head?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like very intentional, right? Like I was telling Eric, I was coming out of my Skyfall screening, so I was out of commission for 2 hours when I found out all this information. And at that point, everybody was sort of scrambling to figure out what was happening. And it's like a world that we couldn't even have imagined in a lot of ways, that we would be looking at new Star Wars films. But I think for me, I mean, in terms of the original idea of it starting with something new, I'm excited for that. I think that's a really smart move. I think it's a very intentional move on Disney's part. You know, we know that they're big into creating franchises with characters that they can market in parades and things like that. They don't want to mess with what they already have, right? They already have Darth Vader. They already have Luke Skywalker. They don't need to do anything with them except have them continue to do the great work that they did in, you know, Episodes 4, 5, and 6. So it makes more sense to me that they would introduce a new storyline and something that they can craft, where Lucas is there kind of on the side, helping to make sure that it fits in his universe, but that they can kind of plow ahead with. A lot of people, I think, are somewhat relieved that Lucas isn't going to be super involved in a lot of ways, and continuing his characters would have made that.
Eric,
his characters.
Eric, let me ask you something here. When you hear Mark Hamill say in August of 2012 or of 2011, like last summer, he and Carrie Fisher and George Lucas sat down with Lucas telling them, hey, we're going to do 7, 8, and 9. What does this tell you about our current situation, considering, you know, who they told, how long ago this was? How does all this hit you right now? What does this tell you?
Well, frankly, I mean, like, honestly, like, it is weird because ever since this news broke, I've kind of just been it's almost been kind of a haze. You're kind of just amazed that it's actually happening, as Ben was saying. But it is interesting that he would go to. It is interesting that he would go to Mark Hamill and Carrie Fisher, because I mean, maybe he is planning to continue the stories of Luke and Leia. I mean, it's kind of easy to see why Lucas would want to continue the Star Wars franchise. I mean, it's been his bread and butter for so long. It's been what he's known for. It's what kept him in kind of the zeitgeist. But it is weird, like, that it's also going to be coming after a time where he is going to be retired. Kathleen Kennedy's taking over Lucasfilm. She's going to be heading up the whole thing. It is finally mirroring. And I do wonder if maybe George is going to Carrie Fisher and Mark Hamill, because maybe there are plans to bring back Luca and, like, maybe new actors. I mean, I have to imagine they're probably too old. I mean, you guys agree with that at this point, right?
Well, it all depends on what the role is, I suppose. I mean, if you're talking about an elder stately Luke Skywalker, an elder stately Princess Leia, I don't think it is. Now, the big question that's been coming in here, Ben, for a while is, well, the one guy you could never bring back is Harrison Ford. He's just a guy that won't come back. But we have heard guys like Sylvester Stallone say they'll never do another Rambo movie, and then they did one. We've heard guys like Vin Diesel say he was done with the Fast and the Furious franchise and then returned to the Fast and Furious franchise. We have seen established actors come back to what was their bread and butter and work. And let's be honest, Harrison Ford in the past 10 years has not exactly had a string of hit films. Ben, is there a possibility? We're purely just speculating here, obviously.
Sure.
But if George is talking to Luke and Leia, I mean, is there a possibility that, considering circumstance and everything, that maybe Harrison Ford could be coerced into coming back?
I think anything is certainly possible. I think the sort of vision that I would see, like, you know, and it was sort of what I was, I think, attempting to say earlier, is just that I see a world where they're going to really carve out a new story and maybe bring some of these characters back into, you know, as cameos or things like that. Like, you know, that may play somewhat of a significant role, but I think, you know, the focus is really going to be on new people that they're going to want to build new franchises off of. It would certainly be fun to see, you know, Luke Skywalker back, or especially Solo back. I mean, who wouldn't want to see, you know, Carrie Fisher and Harrison Ford back together and what happened to their characters and stuff. But at the same time, then you really risk sort of tweaking the canon, and you have to make sure that those things pay off in a way that's satisfying the fans. And I really think, like, as much as we want to see some of these characters back, that it's going to be in a pretty limited capacity if we do. I think there will be characters that they have to bring back, and maybe the droids or something would be a good way for them to, you know, kind of have some characters that offer a bridge. But it'll be interesting. I mean, it's certainly, you know, it's to the Harrison Ford point, sure, like, he could totally come back. I think what would be limiting the return of Harrison Ford would be Lucasfilm, not Harrison Ford as much, probably.
Right. Well, listen,
actually,
go ahead, Eric.
Well, I was just going to jump in and say, like, I mean, when after the announcement was made, there was also a conference call with Bob Iger and kind of the big guys over at Disney, and they actually did say, like, it's not only going to be like 7, 8, and 9, but they are also potentially looking at new Star Wars films every 2 to 3 years after that. So, I mean, frankly, it does make more sense that they actually would start to focus on new characters, if not only because, like, you're going to need to run this for a long time.
That's a great point. That's a great point.
Yeah.
Well, listen, I want to thank Eric Eisenberg. You can visit his work over at cinemablend.com. Eric, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me, John. It's great.
Ben Kendrick, you can find his stuff, as always, over at thefantasticscreenrant.com.
Thanks for having me.
And thank you, guys. Listen, jump into the comments section below. Let us know your thoughts about this. Does it intrigue you that Mark Hamill knew about this a year ago? What do you think about them doing original stories as opposed to, say, Heir to the Empire or something else like that? Let us know your thoughts. Again, thanks a lot for joining us. Until next time, my name's John Campea. Bye-bye.